Arteta! What a strike! What a screamer! Zola! And a fantastic goal! Arsenal back in it! And here's Limpar, lines it up, finds the net. Arsenal in front.
Welcome in to the Arsenal Vision pregame show for the second leg between Arsenal and Slavia Prague, presented by... Nope, there it is. Manscaped. That's right. Manscaped is presenting this show, if you can believe it. So I don't know if we're going to actually see what their products do specifically on this stream. We're probably not, but I do want to say that they are working with the Testicular Cancer Society to raise awareness for that, which is great. So we always want to raise awareness for good causes. And also, shaving your privates is a great cause. So if you're new to our podcast, this is a friend of the pod, and we're happy to have them here sponsoring this show. So please go to manscaped.com, use promo code ArsenalVision, 20% off and free shipping. Okay, look. It's a nervy night. It's a nervy occasion, but there's still plenty of time to laugh at Spurs because no matter what's going on in the world of football, the joke is always on them. They have been trolled by their own sponsor. No word yet on whether we will be trolled by our sponsor, but they have been trolled by their sponsor. So we'll get to that. We'll be taking your questions. We'll be talking to Tim and Scott and Clive and Jessica Black and potentially Paul as well. All kinds of people are going to be on this podcast. Some of them I didn't know were joining. Some of them are joining. So it's just going to be a free-for-all. Looking forward to taking your questions for sure. You can watch us on Twitch, on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter, wherever you want, basically. Just stare into the sky and pretend you're watching us if that's what you'd like to do. We will react to lineups when they come out, of course. That should be mind-blowingly fun, I'm sure. No news yet that I'm aware of. So hopefully only good news. It is a nervy night, but we are in it together. So let me dispense with the nonsense now and bring in Scott. You can find him on Twitter at _that_crowd. Hello, Scott.
Yeehaw. How are you doing?
Yeehaw. Yeah, I'm doing good, man.
Is there a Manscaped bag on the shelf behind you somewhere?
There will be Manscaped products that feature. Absolutely. There will absolutely be Manscaped products that feature. Look, we got Manscaped up there. We got Manscaped down there. I can Manscape all over myself, and I can Manscape all over the screen. That is how powerful this brand is. But we have to bring in Paul. Now, I do want to say a word about bringing in Paul. Paul made it very clear in our WhatsApp group, Scott, that he was not able to join today, that he was tied up and would not be available and did not want any particular slot on this stream for him to join. So naturally, about 30 seconds before we go live, Paul shows up in my little pre-stream studio. So I am proud now to introduce the man who is not on the stream. You can find him on Twitter at Posnan in my pants. Hello, Paul.
Hello. Let me read out a message to you. Bit of a nightmare for me tomorrow. Could I do the first 30 minutes? To which you replied, sure, we are loaded with people, so whatever is convenient, you stepped up today.
Oh, okay. So to be clear, you are right and I am wrong. So we'll just go back. Hang on. Scott, the good news is Paul, despite having a really busy day, Paul has been generous enough to offer to join for the first 30 minutes. So it is with great pleasure that I introduce Posnan in my pants. You can find him on Twitter there. Paul, welcome to the stream.
Woohoo!
Woohoo. Did we get that right this time? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. Oh, good. All right. Good. Okay. So I think the first question, we're gonna get to all of your questions. The first and most obvious question, of course, where is Clive? Clive is joining for the second hour, so he can go over the tactical stuff, the lineups, and what the team is going to actually do, the important stuff. We're going to do all the silly nonsense. So that is important to know. So all right, let's do this. Let's get into just the most important news of the day, and that is Dulux trolling Spurs. Paul, are you up to date with this, or have you been too busy to keep track?
No. I'm here to hear about it. I know nothing about this.
Well, let's see if Tim's up to date with it. You can find him on Twitter at Storberto. Hello, Tim.
Hello there.
Oh, look at this portrait mode. Woo. Portrait mode, Tim. I love it.
Yeah, sorry, my laptop's going through some stuff that's.
We're all going through some stuff, Tim. It's a global pandemic. Yeah. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. It's exceptionally irritating when you do a load of this kind of stuff and your laptop just decides to stop producing sound. So I'm having to do this on my phone and hold my phone. So forgive the shoddy camera work.
No, I love it. Shoddy is kind of our brand. It's kind of what we're going for. Tim, are you up to date with the Dulux story of the day?
I am indeed, yes.
All right. So would you like to explain it to the viewers, the people that are not familiar with what is going on? This is not a joke. Spurs have been trolled by their own sponsor.
Spare no detail.
Yeah, I mean, I suspect this might be a bit of viral marketing, and that we might have given into it. But I say let's roll with it. So this morning at about 9:30, Tottenham tweeted that Dulux was now their official paint partner. Hence a slew of hilarious replies like, what was the first one? Yeah, and for those who aren't familiar, in the UK, particularly Dulux, they have like a mascot that's a dog, and they've had it for years and years. And someone replied with, "Can the dog play at centre back?" And the Dulux account replied, "The dog would probably do a better job." And then somebody asked, again, not that funny a reply, but someone asked them, "Oh, do the trophy cabinets need painting again?" To which Dulux replied, "Don't be silly. You don't paint dusty surfaces." And these tweets actually stayed up for about an hour. They've been deleted now, and Dulux have done the big apology. But that was the Dulux account actually genuinely responding with that stuff, which was great.
Yeah, was there a Spurs Tears one that I saw, or was that mocked up by other people? It was like a paint can, and the color was like Spurs Tears.
I didn't see that one, actually. I wasn't across that one.
So, I mean, let me ask you which is worse, Tim, real quick, then we'll bring everybody in. Is it worse to get trolled by your own sponsor or to get fooled by a scam fake car company sponsor, which Arsenal actually did? So, I mean, we had a Chinese car company that doesn't exist sponsor us, and they had their sponsor troll them on Twitter. So which is the worst outcome here?
The one, I mean, the public humiliation is the worst. To quote, is it Mayor Quimby in The Simpsons when he's talking to his nephew and he says, "May all your disgraces be private."
May all your disgraces. Well, I got news for you. In the day and age of social media, none of our disgraces will be private. But as they say, every day there's one main character on Twitter, and our job is not to be it. So let's do this. We want to get to questions, right? So we want to get to your questions. That's a really important point here. We're going to try to get through this nervousness together. I'll bring Paul and Scott back in. And as we line up some questions, let's do this. Let's talk lineup prediction. Paul, I'll start with you. What's your expectation, both in terms of what you'd like Arteta to do, but maybe what you expect him to do? I think it's important to get this on the record because in no time flat, we'll be able to prove you wrong.
We had Lewis on, Lou on the program yesterday.
Lou, sweet Lou.
Yeah, we should have asked him while we had him. It's a good one.
Okay, that was a good one. Let's move to Come on, Paul. Keep it going. Keep it going. I only got you for 30 minutes, man. You can't take up the whole 30 minutes.
The big deal will be whether we use Saka at left back or Cedric. I think that from there, all things tend to knock on and flow. I think we'll still go with Cedric. I think his performance, apart from the screw up at the end, which wasn't all on him when you go back and think about it, I think his performance overall was okay. And really what we lacked down his side was the Willian Smith Rowe thing. And that didn't really kick in. It kicked in a couple of times in the first half, a little bit at the start of the second half. Mm-hmm. So I expect we won't see Willian this time. But we're still hearing Smith Rowe is available, correct?
Anybody got news on that? I'm furiously refreshing the Twitter timeline. Smith Rowe is available?
Yes, he is.
And we got Odegaard?
No. So Odegaard and Aubameyang out, Smith Rowe and Saka trained, so they should be okay.
So I see Lacazette and Saka leaning to the right, and Smith Rowe. Will Pepe start is the thing? Okay, I think Pepe and Smith Rowe and Willian will start again. And Xhaka and Partey in midfield. Bellerin on the right. I think it'll be very similar. I
don't think Willian will start. I think he will have learned his lesson. At least that's my hope. We're getting a question here, and it's Elliot. Where do you stand with Oba? Do you still think the flu was a lie from the club? I do want to explain something. So within about 24 hours of me saying that I didn't think he actually had the flu, that this felt like a manufactured excuse, I got sick. I am now presently sick. Non-COVID, thank you. Thankfully, I had a negative test. There's nothing to be worried about because there are people going through way worse. But I did get sick, and I think it is clearly karma. And yet I am willing to double down. Scott, I am willing to double down that I don't think Aubameyang has the flu. The odds that Aubameyang got sick just before and they are literally coming to take me away from my bad opinions right now. The odds that Aubameyang got sick just before the Sheffield United game and stayed sick and continues to be too sick to be available for our biggest game of the season, even too sick to even be on the bench. So you can say, well, if he's sick, he can't be around the team. All right, guys, I'm sorry. My opinions are bad. Scott, how hard is it for you to take this at face value, or is it not hard for you at all?
I mean, I also had the same, thought questioning it. It becomes kind of, I don't know if it's not convenient, because it's, never convenient to really say that, but it's a relatively easy thing to say, oh, he's sick. It's one of those things that can pass in a few days, and it's just a cover for any sort of issues. I mean, it's certainly possible. It's plausible that he's sick, but I don't know. It's one of those, because there's been all of the issues that have been going around him, that it does make you question it. The fact that he hasn't been in training, I guess maybe it does have more credence that he could be doing it, or that he could actually have been sick. I don't know which way to go, and it's kind of a problem that we don't trust a lot of the things coming out of the club. So yeah, I guess that's kind of where I fall. I mean, do we know if he actually traveled at all to Prague, or has he been left at home?
Tim, he's not traveled, correct?
I don't honestly know, but that they've actually, this is a rare occasion where they've done no photos of like the team getting on the plane or anything like that. So maybe they're definitely keeping their cards close to their chest, and we can debate whether that's because they are going to play players or they're not. But we don't know if him and Odegaard have travelled.
Yeah, I would be curious to find that out. I'm hoping that we'll start to get some information soon. So we say the more things we say that are without information, the more idiotic we can look. We are getting some word in the comments that him and Odegaard didn't travel. Tim, look, I'm not asking anyone to say why the club has come up with this, but like Aubameyang was out when his mother wasn't doing well, and the club supported him with that. And he missed quite a bit of time with that. And then he had the disciplinary thing with the North London Derby, and now he has this. And Xhaka was sick. He missed one game. He came right back. If he was sick, maybe he was rested for Liverpool. I mean, he's played a lot as well. But using sickness as an excuse to rotate and rest someone is a pretty common thing I think clubs do, candidly, to give them a day off ahead of a big game when you don't want to say, hey, we're taking this opponent lightly so the fan base freaks out. But I'm not familiar with players missing multiple games with non-COVID illness. It's just not a thing that seems to happen that much. So, I mean, and like, I get it. I'm speculating. The club has given me no reason to think anything else, but all the attendant information, all the associated information right now leads me to believe that there might be some fire to this smoke. So I guess instead of saying which is right, on a scale of 1 to 10, where 1 is he has the flu, let's keep our fingers crossed that he gets healthy, and 10 is he is signing a pre-agreement with another club, like where do you, that might actually be the best outcome in some people's minds, but where are you in terms of taking this explanation at face value?
I'm on a solid 5 at the moment.
Okay.
I'm really on the fence, because when at first I shared your dubiousness when the news first broke. But then I don't know. Then it seemed to die down a little bit. Nothing else came out, and I thought, he probably is just sick, or actually, well, I said at the time, didn't I? Most likely, maybe he's a little bit got the sniffles, and yeah, they just don't want to say Sheffield United are crap. We don't need him tonight. But then when he's not in training this week, it does seem a bit. That could be taken either way. For me, it's all about what happens on Sunday. I think that's when I'd probably make my mind up on this, because, yeah, the thing is, if he's still sick on Sunday, you'd probably say, oh, he probably has got the flu. But I just think if you're in like a COVID bubble, like they are, if you've actually got the flu, like surely that means like a respiratory illness has come into the bubble, and surely that has an impact on more than just one person. Yeah.
Thanks for the kind comments, Alejo. I appreciate that. What I would say is, it's tough, right? Because we do see examples in other sports, certainly, of players who are sick playing through their illness. I mean, Paul, we've seen, there's the iconic Michael Jordan flu game, which is sort of a unique situation. And you might say the last thing you want to do is wind up with a lasagna situation where everybody's getting everybody sick in the team. So you got to keep them apart. It is the biggest game of the season. He is our highest paid player. He is arguably our biggest star. So look, I've had the flu before. And for me, the way it works is it rips through me over a couple of days. And within, 4 or 5 days, I'm fine, having gone through it really bad. I realize it's different for everyone. Am I wrong to think that this is the kind of thing that once you're not contagious anymore, like it's just down to your tolerance and how you're doing and whether you can play through it? I think of star players showing up to play the biggest games, no matter what their situation is, they play through it, barring, an injury that really stops them. I want to move on from this, but as a last word on it, like this, I don't think this is going away. I have a hard time thinking that this story is not going to continue to be there. I mean, the best thing would be Lacazette plays well, we win, and it's a non-issue. But do you see this story going away or lingering?
Well, I just want to say I'm not an actual doctor.
Mm-hmm.
I just play one on the podcast.
Okay.
Look,
that's fine. That counts.
I've no idea what the hell is going on. It feels super dodgy. On the other hand, he put out his tweet when the last game was on, which was people were saying, oh, he's doing the Ozil PR thing. Well, no, he didn't. In fact, he didn't do that, leaving something out there to make you think about things. He just did a straight up go guys, kind of some positive emojis, nice and simple, seemed really positive. His celebrations with his teammates. What's really interesting is the relationship between him and Lacazette and Pepe, and they're all having their ups and downs, and yet together they seem very positive on the pitch in their moments. Of course, you'll see things they don't like being taken off or whatever, but generally the body language makes me think that maybe we shouldn't freak out yet. So conflicting messages. I'm with Tim. I liked when he said by Sunday we'll really know, and then he thought through it and said we'll really know that we don't really know. So I'm with that. I don't think we'll be that much clearer on Sunday if he doesn't play. We'd be like, but
the only way we'll know for sure, right, is if the player comes out and says something contrary to what the club has put out, or if he never plays for Arsenal again, or if he shows up at the weekend and everything seems fine. I mean, it's just one of those things, right? I would say it is what it is. Fred says, I work in a hospital where we take twice weekly tests. If someone is ill, they're asked if they've taken their test to make sure it isn't COVID, but the rest of us aren't asked to immediately test. Sort of an interesting update on what they're doing in the medical community. I think the other reason, look, let's face it, you guys, the reason there's the skepticism is they're in a bubble that's designed to keep infection from spreading. So it's even less likely, and flu is already at a very low level. There was the joke going around. There was a headline, I think it was from The Independent, 0 cases of flu in the UK this season. All right, it's all a joke. But to be fair, Xhaka had been ill the week before. So let's move on to that, Scott.
Yeah, the other thing we should do is just, because there's been the strife and, the stuff that's coming out, maybe the things aren't perfect between him and Arteta too. So is this a sneaky punishment for a way to kind of avoid, keeping him out of the lineup without losing face kind of thing? So that's the other thing that comes up, where these questions too. So it's tough. I don't know.
The only thing that would make me nervous, look, guys, this isn't like we've never been burned before. We're all coming off the Ozil situation, which was bad for the club, bad for the manager, bad for the player, bad for the fans. He was our highest paid player and our biggest star. And he wound up in a situation where we literally refused to use him. You may, whatever side.
Burned. We're like that guy in the hospital bed wrapped in bandages.
Yes.
All you can see is his eyes.
Yes. And now we're trying to burn our eyes. The last remaining non-burned part. The point is, I don't think it's ridiculous to get some vibes off this. He was benched for the derby for disciplinary reasons. It's not like there's no there. So yeah, it is a little nerve-wracking to have another star player that we all would like to see thrive at the club, that the club is tied to, be in our biggest game. I mean, he won us the cup last season. He dragged us past Benfica. I'd love him to be out there. Scott, what are the odds telling you in terms of our likelihood to go through tonight? I'm guessing that we are still pretty strong favorites, to be fair.
Yeah, so when I looked at the betting odds, it's still slightly over 50% for Arsenal to win outright. Checked 538, and it says still about 60% for us to go through just in general. And I think we're about 48% to win. When I kind of look at things and, kind of the gut feeling, I feel like I'm kind of somewhere in between that. Maybe a coin flip for us to actually win. And I think, maybe high 50s, a little bit better than a coin flip that we advance. I mean, I feel that Arsenal are a better team. I don't think anybody left the first leg thinking, oh man, this team is just better than us and we should have lost or anything like that. I think everybody kind of felt the opposite direction where we didn't take our chances and we should have done better. So I think that those are pretty fair general kind of thoughts that Arsenal are probably better. We left ourselves in a bad situation to where this is much closer than we want it to be, but it's still probably better than a slight coin flip that Arsenal advance.
Better than a slight coin flip. I mean, I did a poll on Twitter. It was 80% that we would advance. You'd be shocked that Arsenal fans reacted that way, but only 60% through a win, 20% through a draw, where we progress. So like a 2-2 or a 3-3. I would take a 7-7. I would take a 9-9. Tim, what are the odds that any of us would survive a penalty shootout? It's been a long time. I'm trying to think, what was our last, was it Milan? What was our last European penalty shootout to progress? Roma, that's what Roma. Yeah. I watched that from behind the couch. What do you think the likelihood is that we wind up in a penalty shootout tonight?
I mean, it could happen. I'm actually pretty confident. I think we're going to beat them. I really do. I think I do think. I guess the thing that gives me pause is I think they'll be better than they were last week. But I mean, we still should have. Even though I had a lot of problems with our performance, the selection and the performance last week, and we still should have killed them. To be quite honest, so I suspect that hopefully we'll learn enough. And really, I don't think we need to be an awful lot better than we were last week. And I think we can be much better than we were last week. So I completely understand the trepidation. I don't want or wish to take Slavia lightly. It could go to extra time. It could go to penalties. I'm not saying I think we're going to thrash them. We're not. But I could see us winning. I don't know. I'll give you a prediction. 3-1 Arsenal.
3-1. I would take 3-1. How do you? Could
be after extra time as well. Could finish 1-1.
I mean, I'll take any win or any progression, but in terms of my nerves, I mean, Paul, the one thing that gives me pause, everybody says, look, the way we played last time, and the way they looked, this is a game we should win. Away and home doesn't really matter as much right now. I think that much is pretty clear. But the Slavia Prague coach was pretty clear that they played like crap. They were missing their two starting center backs, and they had this swirling racism storm around them, which probably wasn't good for focus, and that's their fault, and they earned it. And the player has been banned for 10 games, and we can debate whether that's, insufficient. But setting that aside, the thing that gives me pause is they beat Rangers, they beat Leicester. They have not lost at home. I think the only teams that have beat them at home in like the last few years are like Barcelona and Bayern Munich or something that they have, or PSG
and Inter.
And Inter. That's it. Yeah. So I have a hard time squaring the team we saw in the home leg with what I know about them from their other results and their other performances. So do you have a slight concern that we will be assuming that we're facing the similar kind of challenge, but a very different Slavia Prague might turn up?
So in many ways, you're not facing the team, you're facing the tournament. And we see it game after game, season after season in the cup stage. We saw it with the Olympiacos, Benfica. It doesn't actually matter. It matters, but kind of doesn't matter how good they are. It's going to be a Europa League tie. It's going to be close. We could be better for 60 or 70 minutes and they still score some jammy goal at the end. This is going to be, we might get lucky, but this is going to be tight. I suspect it's going to be a nerve-wracking, something like a 2-1 to us, where we go up 2 goals and we're like, oh, this is going great. And the next thing they get their goal and we're like, oh shit, now it's, or maybe it's a 1-1 and we get it to 2-1. But I think it's going to be a nerve-wracker. I know the coach said they didn't play that well, but I think that's who they are. They're just basically a kind of a bad Leeds, but a bad Leeds can give you a pretty tough game if you're not putting your chances away. They're going to be, they were high energy the last time. They'll be a pain in the ass this time. They'll be all over us. It might take them 20 minutes to get them to settle down, because for 20 minutes, young guys running like crazy, pressing all over the field. I think we're going to be very nervous right the way through till close to halftime before we kind of get our arms around this game. Both sides will do tactics, and this will not feel like a very controlled game. It doesn't matter that we're on paper, and even in reality, we were much better than last time. It didn't matter. These are tough games. It's going to be nervy.
Yeah, I want to apologize to Lloyd really quick, who apparently joined a little late. Lloyd, we had a nice little laugh at Spurs, and we will laugh at Spurs, and we will always laugh at Spurs because the joke is always on Spurs. No matter what happens on or off the pitch, the joke is always on Spurs. Sky Sports put out Ask Harry Kane Any Question tweet for an interview they're doing with him. And as you'd expect, the Arsenal fans showed up in force with questions for Kane. Mine was, what is your favorite trophy you've won, and why is it the Audi Cup? Which I think is a fair question. So yes, we have laughed at them. So I do have to agree that tactics quote is now the most quoted quote of the season. We have really leaned in, if you've got your bingo card, to the other side can do tactics too thing. Well, Tim, for tonight, I mean, I think if they score, it doesn't change what we have to do. And the only part of me that feels a little bit less nervous about tonight is I think a 1-1 helps us in one respect. We know the job. Go out, score a goal. Don't worry if they score a goal, because it doesn't change it when you just score a goal. We get 2 goals, we go through. That's my feeling. And we can definitely get 2 goals. We saw the chances we created. So there's no reason to really keep it tight tonight. Is there the approach tonight feels like it helps Arteta get out of his own way in a sense, because there's a lot of reward for going for it and not so much drawback. If they score 1, it doesn't change anything. If they score 2, in my mind, it doesn't change anything, because I would be approaching this game like we need 2 goals and we're through. So is that a simplification for Arteta in some ways?
Yeah, I think so. And he seemed to suggest that himself as well in the wake of the first leg, that he referred to that, didn't he, about the task being a bit clearer this way. I mean, I guess that's a little bit worrying in the respect that he'd have found the task not so clear at 1-0. However, yeah, I completely agree. And the thing is as well about this game, I really think we can control this game as well. If we've got a midfield of Xhaka, Partey, I'd be really confident about being able to control this game. Of course, I'm sure we'll come on to the lineup, and I'm sure it will drop soon anyway, but he has to get that attack. If he gets that attack right, I honestly think we'll be absolutely fine. If that's a balanced attack that goes out tonight, I think we know what's going to be in defence. With Xhaka, Partey in midfield, I think that's really decent. That should be better than what Slavia Prague put out. It's all about him getting that front 4 right tonight. And if he gets that balance right, like he did against Sheffield United, and not like against Liverpool, then honestly, I really feel confident that we'll create plenty of chances.
Yeah, one of the things he's got to figure out, though, Scott, is what to do at left back. And I always worry for a manager when they try something new and it works really well, but it doesn't export well to the next challenge. What he did against Sheffield United worked great. I don't think it works great with the challenge that we face against Slavia Prague. So, for example, Xhaka at left back with actual wingers and a pressing side scares me a lot more than it did against Sheffield United. Do you have any nervousness that he might try to take what he did against Sheffield United and use that tonight? And how do you think that might go? And if not, what do you think his solution will be at left back?
I mean, I definitely do have some. I think that, Xhaka worked nicely against that because they don't really play. They have the wing back, so they definitely do the back 5. And I think Arsenal actually did pretty well of pinning back their wing backs in that game. So Xhaka was pretty well able to play it almost as a left midfielder, where he didn't really have to go advancing. He didn't have to do any sort of an overlap. We were able to let Dani Ceballos. So, Dani Ceballos and Xhaka kind of did a job share on that side. Where Dani Ceballos did a lot more of the advanced work, and Xhaka was able to stay reserved, and I think that worked. I think if something like that was to happen again, I'm kind of torn in saying that might be okay. I do worry about Xhaka one-on-one defending. I think that's always something that gives everybody nightmares. I do like to see that we would probably play a real fullback and put Xhaka in midfield. And I think that, if you do that, there's only one option. So I think it is going to be Cedric. I can't imagine him going through that again. That's such a big departure from everything else we've done this season. You can kind of do it with, the eye towards rotation of keeping somebody fresh. So I think that's kind of where he had to go. And I think he goes back to his regular strategy this match.
Fair enough. We see in the comments someone says expecting Pepe to start. Pepe starts apparently. I don't know where that's coming from. LT Arsenal.
I'm seeing some news too. That's actually Aubameyang, Lacazette, William starting
that
together.
That is not gonna be right because we already know that Aubameyang and Odegaard are not available. So that is almost certainly going to get ratioed off the internet. But yeah, so real quick, we did get a comment saying I'd like to see that bingo card. Oh wait, Arsblog has posted lineups, so I have the benefit of being an Arsblog patron, which everyone should be. I mean, you should probably be our patron too, since this is our stream. But be an Arsblog patron too.
Here it is.
Wait, where is it? Does anybody have it?
I only saw the news that he said. Okay, this is great content.
Is it on Twitter? Where is it? Nobody will be admitted during the period where we panically hunt for the lineup. Let's see. Twitter HQ Brazil. Okay.
All right. I got something here from Chris Wheatley here. So we got Leno, Chambers, Holding, Mari, Saka, Xhaka, Party, Ceballos, Smith Rowe, Pepe, Lacazette.
I didn't hear any Willian.
No Willian. No Aubameyang.
Okay.
So is that Smith Rowe on the left?
Well, yeah. Let's discuss it now that it's out. What do you think, Paul? You're looking at it. What do you think?
Saka as a 10?
I think this looks very similar to what we just saw.
Do you think so? All right. So then Tim, you tell me, or Paul, sorry, what if this is what we just saw, how nervous are you about Xhaka getting a run out at left back in a situation where he's going to face more left backy kind of defensive work to do?
A bit. They'll certainly be targeting it, but if we know that's where they're targeting it, he's not that slow. I know we think he is, right? I know this is one of my Pablo Mari things. He's slow if he's not expecting it. He's slow if he has to move his feet. But he covers the ground pretty quickly if that's his job. I don't think he'll get done for speed here. I know that's a shocking view, but I have watched him many times cover the ground quickly. It's he's a slow boat turning. So unless they have us camped down in our penalty area, but then he'll stay tight. I think he'll do okay. I think he will surprise us all and have a creditable performance. You don't want him in midfield and the ball going over the top and Jamie Vardy chasing it down. That's all wrong from him. Is too much turning and twisting and his mind is elsewhere. But give him the job of left back. I think he'll be positionally sound, switched on, and will do a job, a classic do a job. And it does give us distribution up that wing, nice and zippy. I think we'll be surprised and it will be good.
Okay, I am less excited about it. You'll be shocked to hear. Yep. So Tim, look, I don't want to say like it's a disaster, it's a mess or anything like that. I'm not trying to suggest that, but I am a little more nervous about. Look, one thing I do like Xhaka deep. I think that he distributes well when he can see the whole pitch in front of him. We saw that video that was making the rounds. It kind of went viral about him talking his way through the game, right, in the Sheffield United game, and they had him mic'd up. And when he can see the game and instruct and sort of organize, I think he does that really well. But they're going to press. There's going to be a lot of transition in this game. I like his ability to distribute and start the counterattacks from deep. I think we've sometimes lacked that without David Luiz. We don't necessarily have someone back there that can do it. But I worry a little about them targeting him with more natural wingers that Sheffield United didn't have. So is that the position of all of this lineup that has you the most sort of curious and not necessarily concerned, but where you think it could be an inflection point?
Possibly. I'm like Paul, I'm not actually that worried about it because the thing is when Xhaka plays left back, he just tends to stay. So like I don't see him bombing up the pitch and getting caught out in that respect. And as you know, we discussed this, like when you see his heat maps in the Sheffield United game, he was kind of playing the same position, really, that he usually plays. Whether he can do that against a team that presses like Slavia Prague, the thing is, even then, it's a difficult position to press, that kind of left back, left centre back, left half space, because when you press over there, you leave yourself really, really open to a quick switch. And in fact, what a lot of managers, probably with slightly better ball players than Arsenal do, is they deliberately encourage the press over there. So I'm going to do that thing everyone loves again and make a quick kind of comparison to Arsenal women, because they do this sometimes. They sometimes deliberately play a right-footed centre-back at left-back, and the whole idea is they make the opponent think, going to go over there. And actually what it does is it puts them in a pretty useless space. So if you switch on them quickly, they've all vacated the middle of the pitch and the other side of the pitch because they're over in this kind of weird corridor. So either they can do that or they just leave Xhaka alone, which I think is more likely. However, I will just say the way Chris has got the lineup written, he's got Saka at left back. So that's still a possibility that's on the table. And it's one of those things I don't think we'll know till kickoff.
That's an interesting point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. I mean,
just because they do that for the Sheffield match too, where they kind of had Saka in that left. Yeah,
they listed it wrong. Yeah, but I mean, it's a good point that just because he used Saka as an 8 and Xhaka's left back against Sheffield United doesn't mean that's what he's doing now. If you've got questions, by the way, we will start to get to your questions. So definitely put that up there. And it says your Chiron is incorrect. Burke says your Chiron's incorrect. So if someone has...
Uba, I don't think Aubameyang is in the squad at all.
That's what I said. No Oba.
Or Cedric.
Oh, yeah, no Cedric. Why do I have Cedric again? Look, I wrote this thing in real time, everybody. And if there's one thing that we know, it's that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So let's get rid of it. There's no Bellerin. Oh, you know what it is, guys? Sorry.
Did you look at the bench?
I typed up the new one. It didn't save it, and it posted the one from the last live stream we did. So let me type up the correct one. Do you have to go, Paul?
Yep.
All right, Paul's on Twitter. Pause my pants. Thanks, man.
Woohoo!
Woohoo, indeed. Okay. So real quick, we'll get to some stuff here about the lineup once I have the right one written down, which I need to do. So Scott, let me turn this over to you for a second. And as we say hi to Tim's beautiful baby girl. So Scott, like Lacazette had the kind of game against Slavia Prague in the first leg that people were really hard on him. But to be fair, he got in behind. He had chances to score. He made amends a little bit at the weekend. He got his finishing right. What do you expect from Lacazette in this game? Turning provider primarily, or more redemption for the first leg, get in behind again, score the goals this time?
I mean, hopefully it's something like he did with Sheffield, where I think he was better supported with players that could balance out the things that he does. So, I mean, I think that was the big miss from the first leg, is that we didn't have anyone else besides Saka being able to go beyond him. And I think that put a lot of burden on him to try to do that. And that's just not his skill. He's much more of a, I'm going to go to the build-up kind of play, kind of be almost at the penalty spot or even further back. And he's not a guy who's going to go attack things. And I think we were able to see a little bit better of him from Sheffield, where there was players that were more willing to make the runs and to go behind and, take that burden off of him. And I think he actually had a good chance where he got one-on-one where, he wasn't necessarily looking to do that. And I think hopefully that's something that we see today. I think that the lineup seems like it should have a little bit more of that. Pepe hopefully trying to do something like Martinelli. I mean, he doesn't quite have the same tenacity in his chasing down players, but I think that he is a true forward. If we see Saka in the 10, I think he plays that much more as a forward instead of as a connector. I like having Ceballos and Smith Rowe as kind of the two other kind of guys that'll be in the attacking midfield. So I think this is good. I mean, I'm kind of talking myself into it. This is something that I brought up on the analytics pod yesterday, that I did kind of see this as the lineup that we were going to go with. And then I kind of waffled to get overnight thinking about it. I heard Lewis or Lou on the preview pod this morning on Patreon, and he kind of he's convinced me of not wanting to, or actually playing a real left back would be good, but I think that it's almost like the back three, so I feel like it's okay to have Xhaka there.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, I'm sort of surprised Gabriel isn't starting as well. Tim, he's made some big calls with players that either have had some nightmares recently that could have scared him off, and some players who maybe feel a little bit hard done by. So Gabriel, who at times has been our best defender this year, he's dropped for the weekend. Holding and Marie play. They play well against the bottom side, and now they're given the game tonight. Ceballos, I thought had a really good game in sort of an 8 kind of role, left-sided 8 kind of role, but he was given a 10 against Olympiacos in a home game that we lost. These are big calls. Either of these particularly surprising to you? Two players, one who's been pretty good most of the season dropped, and another who has been, prior to Sheffield, going through a pretty rough time, who's selected. Either of those stand out to you?
No, I fully expected Mari to start. I think Mari's been better than Gabriel this season, to be honest. So I kind of fully expected that. And I still think it's not an absolute perfect science because we have seen mixing and matching, but I just think Arteta prefers Mari alongside Holding. I just like how high we get the line with Mari. I still think he's a player that's misunderstood and miscast because he's built like Mertesacker. I think people think he's Mertesacker and he's not. He's much more Koscielny. And particularly when we're playing someone who's not a natural left back, I like Mari there because he knows how to cover that space. What was the second one you asked me? Sorry, I forgot.
Well, I mean, the Gabriel Mari one was certainly one. Ceballos getting a start, I think, is not questionable, but prior to Sunday, nobody would have been wanting to see Ceballos on the pitch.
Yeah. I'm not surprised because we have seen a pattern with Arteta that when someone plays well, depending on who they are, generally he tries to keep them going, or I think he likes the idea of rewarding someone for good performances, which I do think makes a certain amount of sense. I think it just depends on what we do with Ceballos and where. If it's the same kind of role he had on Sunday, playing nice and close to Lacazette and nice and close to, it was Martinelli at the time. We don't know who's going to be on the left wing this time. Then I get it because he can do that and he's shown that he can do that. If he's going to be playing number 8 next to Thomas Partey, like a more prosaic number 8 role, then no, personally, I still wouldn't do that. So I think as ever with an Arteta team, it's more about how the players are utilised rather than the players we've actually got. I must say, what I wanted the lineup to be was largely the same as Sunday, but I wanted Saka at left back, for Xhaka to come back into midfield, and for Smith Rowe to do the role that Ceballos did against Sheffield United. I can really see him doing that, kind of getting nice and close to people and linking up and creating exits and one-touch football and all of that. I think Smith Rowe is just a better player than Ceballos already at doing that. So I guess I'm surprised in that respect, but kind of knowing or getting to know Arteta, I'm less surprised. But in the instant reaction pod, I might view it differently depending on how he's deployed.
Yeah, or what the result is.
Yes.
You know what I will say? Look, I think it's possible that it's like what we did against Sheffield United. Hear me out. Scott, tell me what you think of this. I thought that what we did against Sheffield United was sort of a 4-3-3 in a loose sense. All right, Xhaka's the left back, but he tucks in. He doesn't go as much. Fine. That was a little slanted. But you had Partey at the base of midfield. You had the 2 8s. Ceballos as the left 8, Saka as the right 8, right? And then you had the runners in front of them and Lacazette as center forward. What if it's Partey, Ceballos, and Smith Rowe as the midfield, right? So Ceballos is the left 8, and he's feeding Pepe on the left, and Smith Rowe is the right 8, building back that partnership with Saka on the right. They scored that one beautiful goal that they built together with Lacazette stitching it all together. I could see that because Saka got in time and time again in the first leg. I don't think he's going to want to drop Saka deeper and take him out of the chance to run at that back line, which he had such success doing in the first leg. Pepe's definitely not dropping deeper. He's going to be running in behind. That's going to be their mandate. So it would make more sense to me if that midfield is Partey, Ceballos, and Smith Rowe. Ceballos on that left 8 side feeding Pepe, and Smith Rowe on the right 8 side feeding Saka. That just sort of makes a little more sense to me. Of course, this could all be wrong if Saka's at left back and Xhaka's in midfield in the normal double pivot, which is entirely possible too. So do you think it's possible that Smith Rowe won't be playing that sort of left winger role, but actually he'll come back into midfield alongside Ceballos and Partey and get Saka up, because the way he ran in behind in the first leg, I'd be surprised if we don't want to try to exploit that again.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would be makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think there's a lot of ability for things to be very fluid in this match, because I mean, I think you'll be able to see a lot of times in build-up, this will look like a back three where, one of, Xhaka or Chambers will stay back. I think that's just the way things are going to do. The other thing that I really liked from, last, on Sunday was how this basically put the burden on Thomas Partey to actually do things. And I think he looked as good as he's ever looked for Arsenal, where he had a bigger responsibility to actually do things. He couldn't defer to Xhaka nearly as much. And I think that's one of the things that, we talked about last week, where I was a little bit disappointed in Partey that he wasn't able to really kind of stamp his, his stuff on the game as much. So I think that was something that was really positive to see. So hopefully that's something that we're able to do more of in this match. So I think we will have enough attacking, threat. I think that, being able to play probably more conservative, full backing, not really fullbacks. And I think that'll be, helpful to make sure that we're not doing that. And I think we'll have plenty of time, plenty of passing to go from the back. And I think one of the things that we saw last week too, is that it really is one of the things to beat their press is that we need to be able to drive from the back line from there. So, I mean, I think this is a big game for Pablo Mari to do that, because I think that was something that he was good at. And I think Rob Holding took advantage of that quite a bit last time, being able to get free, because, they do the man marking so much in midfield, and it leaves one of the center backs as an option to push forward. So I think both of those guys will be really big in this match.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Look, we are all carrying a lot of anxiety with us right now. I think we can all agree that we are carrying the weight of the world. And I saw a comment that really hit home, which is, if this doesn't go right tonight, it could be our last European match until August of 2022 at the earliest. Kind of a scary thought to think about. You may have noticed there is a quite silly and fun, here we go. Quite silly and fun graphic in the upper right corner there, a little shaver going back and forth. And that is because we are presented by Manscaped. And look, if you've never listened to our podcast, then you are missing out on what is, I think, the most important feature of the show. I think you guys could agree that the best part of the show is Clive's impressive discomfort with the Manscaped ads. I mean, he really does not like the Manscaped ads. Let's be honest. It makes him incredibly uncomfortable, which is why I am happy to bring this in. This is what it's always been about, fellas. This is the Lawnmower 3.0. Come on. Tell me that's not a thing of beauty. I mean, your chest, eyebrows, sideburns, your privates. This thing's going to do it all. Wet, dry. Battery is amazing on this thing. It's got you can even see the porcelain blades I talk about. I mean, this is show and tell right here. I got this in my shower right now. And I'm not going to show you the outcome of that, but suffice it to say, the thing is great. When the pandemic's over and we all run into the street and drop our pants and show off our privates, the people who listen to this pod, who use the promo code ArsenalVision, who got their 20% off, they're going to have the most impressive privates. And I hope that you are in that group. So go to manscaped.com. Please use promo code ArsenalVision for 20% off. Got bush, shave it off. There it is, that fun little graphic right there. We can now take that off the screen, get back to the business at hand, which is freaking out about this very scary match that we have coming up. And thank you for that. Tim, I will put you in the position of being Clive. Is that enough of that?
That is quite enough of that, yeah. But I must say, I had a haircut on Tuesday for the first time in 4 months, and I feel like a new man. So
you're looking good.
Thank you. And you can hear my daughter in the background as well. She approves as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm just going to say it. Arsblog in the chat with the winning comment. I have used my manscaping tool to honor Paul. Yes, it is in honor of Paul. I lost a bet, but I'm not going to tell you what bet I lost. That's the key. All right, let's definitely going above and beyond. Definitely, haha, at Arsblog, definitely. So impressive graphical work, Elliot. Let me tell you something. When it comes to taking private shaving seriously, we are the destination for that. I think it's pretty clear. Okay, so before we have to say goodbye to you guys, Clive is coming up. Jessica Black is coming up. I want to get to a little bit of what you do expect tonight. This is obviously a huge game. Guys, if you have any questions for Scott or for Tim before they're gone, before Clive and Jessica show up, get them in there now, and we'll get it in there. We're going to go till about 10 minutes before kickoff, so there'll be plenty of time Well, there'll be plenty of time. Oh, by the way, he says, I don't think the blades are porcelain, Elliot. You are correct. They are ceramic. Thank you for that. See, we crowdsource our promotions here. So, all right, Tim, who's someone on the bench tonight that could make a big difference if it's getting nervy? It's 0-0. It's 72 minutes when we are legally permitted to make our first substitution. Who is that guy on the bench that's going to turn up and make a difference?
Willian, obviously.
For
no,
God's sake.
no. I mean, it's Martinelli. Absolutely, and I really hope that pretty much whatever's happening, I hope to see at least 20 minutes of Martinelli tonight. If we're winning and they're coming on to us, great. He's great on the counter attack. If we need a goal, great. He's good for a goal. I think this is the thing about this player. He's not perfect. He does have rough edges. We all know that. But there isn't a scenario in which I feel uncomfortable using him, which is not to mean I think we should play him every minute of every game. I don't think we should at the moment. But as an impact sub, I think he can work in pretty much any scenario. A little bit like Theo Walcott, actually. In fact, I always thought it was better to bring Walcott on when we were 1-0 up. And teams were coming on to us a little bit. So he's the really obvious one here. I'm just looking at the other subs because, Matt Ryan, Hilton, goalkeepers, Bellerin. Potentially he could come on. Gabriel Willian. Reece Nelson's not getting on, is he? Probably not Nketiah either. But we do see Balogun and Aziz on the bench as well. Be interesting to see if we saw any of Balogun tonight. And in fact, if, let's say, I don't know, Lacazette gets injured or something and we have to bring a centre forward on, really interesting to see who he'd bring on between Balogun, Nketiah and Martinelli. I think that could be something to watch. But absolutely, the ace up our sleeve is Martinelli. I wanted to see him start tonight. I'm not devastated that he hasn't. I'd have been devastated if Willian had started it instead of him. But he is he should be bar injury in another position. He should be the first player off the bench tonight, regardless.
Yeah, it's just crazy to me, you guys, that we are going into this game and there's still so much up in the air. I feel for Arteta in a way, right? He came in, there was the pandemic, there were lots of red cards, there were lots of injuries. This season gets off to a bad start. He finally finds a solution that works. Odegaard goes out of the team. Aubameyang is sick. That all these things, he loses Tierney, and again, he's got to chop and change. Scott, it is the biggest night of our season, and we're going into it with a system and a lineup that is essentially untried to try to beat a team that hasn't lost at home to anybody in ages. And the last time was Inter Milan, so it's a big ask from this team. I just look at Pepe and I say, wouldn't it be great for Pepe to make himself the hero here? He's looked dangerous a lot. He came in and scored the goal in the first leg. He was a player where the narrative around him was starting to really go, do we cut our losses this summer and move on? We have these young guys. You see Pepe maybe being a possible hero tonight, someone who can really cause them trouble and maybe get us through this tie.
Yeah, and I think this is something that we are really missing from that first leg. So this is something that I think Arteta learned from. I think we're, going to be able to see him be able to do that. Because, he did score almost a classic little goal in the first leg. This is what he did so much in that time, quick counterattack, very direct, and he scored a great goal. I'm hoping that we see more of that again. Going back to Tim's point, one of the things that I think about is if I was looking at it from the opponent side, who would I least like to see come on? And I think that's definitely Martinelli. I think if you were to play against him, just his relentlessness is incredibly tiring. He'd definitely be a guy if you're playing against, be like, dude, the ball's on the other side of the field. We don't need to be running around this crazy. But he just does not take any time off. And I think that's why we love him so much. So I think that I would love to see him get 30 minutes. I want, whoever, they have planned for, if it's Pepe, go out here and give us your all for 60 minutes and don't leave anything there, because we're taking you right off at 60 minutes and we're going to get him going against somebody who's tired. Hopefully, the game's out of, reach by that point. But if we need to, I think he's really the only guy that we can get, that will actually change the game, because this is probably one of the weaker benches we're going to have, especially with the injury crisis that we're going through right now. This bench does not have a lot of game changers on it. And I think that's really the only thing that we can do if we're in trouble.
Yeah. That is the interesting point. And Tim touched on it too. Tim, tell me, all right, let's do it this way. We go through who's the hero. We crash out who's the goat. Who's the scapegoat.
If we go through, I'm going to say Pepe. I do fancy him as a bit of a match winner in this, particularly because I don't think Slavia Prague are a deep block team. And, we saw with his goal in the first leg, they do. The thing is about a team that presses is they leave space in behind. And I really think Pepe could exploit that. He can be the hero without being absolutely magnificent for the whole 90 minutes as well. And that would be very Pepe to even just be a bit underwhelming, but then pull out the moment that we need. If we don't go through, who's going to be the villain? Willian, obviously. No. Because it's always Willian. No, I mean, I could see it being Leno. Actually, he hasn't been great recently, and I'm not immensely worried about that. I don't think he's been an absolute disaster or anything like that, but I do think he's been a little bit ropey recently. There isn't an awful lot of pressure on his place, and I think a lot of the mistakes he's made so far haven't been absolutely enormously costly because we haven't been playing for that much. But this is very much a high stakes game, and look. That's a goalkeeper's life as well, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny that there's a lot of agreement about the Leno thing. I think it should be an interesting one because I think their goalkeeper is one that you'd look at too as potentially being a train wreck. Jessica's here. Before we say goodbye to you guys, Scott, do you have a hero and scapegoat if we go through or crash out?
I mean, I definitely worry about Xhaka as a potential scapegoat because he's a guy who's we think is getting played opposition, and that's putting a lot of pressure on him to not make a mistake. And I think that he's a guy that has a mistake in him. So I think he's definitely a guy that I worry about. I think Lacazette could be another one that if some things fall to him and he's not able to convert them, that'd be 2 matches in a row where it could be something like that would fall to him. I think that there is a lot of potential, heroes on this team. It's really who steps up. I think Partey could be another one. This is why we bought him. So let's, we handed him the keys to the midfield, and I think he has a good match. I think we could all be very happy with him, and so I think he's a good shout for a guy that could come out of this looking really good.
It's tough, right? Because Partey had his worst game of the season against this team, but had his best game of the season in his last appearance. So it just depends which one you want to use, recency bias or the comparable opponent. I think the thing with Partey is he can beat a press, get you going the other way, and be the guy that helps our transition succeed. But those players take risks. And I love the way Clive said it. Who's the guy you're going to burden that you trust with that burden to make it easier for everybody else? And that's Partey. If Partey can sidestep the press, if he can get around the opposition, if he can beat a man and start us going the other direction, it's going to be a long night for Slavia Prague. If they can target him, and we saw him very isolated against Sheffield United, if they can target him or his passing isn't clean, then suddenly you've got players running at guys like Xhaka, guys like Holding, guys like Chambers, who are not the most fleet of foot. It's not a mobile back line we're employing here, guys. This is Chambers, Holding, Marie, and Xhaka. We think that's what it's going to be. And yeah, not the most mobile. So let's let you guys go. Tim is on Twitter at Stoberto, and we will talk to you in the Instant Reaction Pod. Tim, enjoy the game.
Thank you very much. And I just want to say I am really excited about this game because the league season has just been a bit dull. And one good thing about being in the Europa League is being in big nights like this. And it's nerve-wracking and it might be heartbreaking, but I'm still really excited to be in a game in mid-April with this much on it. So UTA.
UTA indeed. All right. Well, you can find Tim on Twitter. So thanks, Tim. Okay, Scott, that'll do it for you as well. We'll be talking to you soon. You can find Scott on our analytics pods for patrons and occasionally on our regular pod when I'm not such an idiot that I can't make room for him, but we'll certainly do more of that. And Scott, it's always a pleasure to chat with you on the live stream. Scott's on Twitter at _that_crab. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later indeed. All right, that'll do it. Can't believe Elliot missed an opportunity to promote Manscaped when talking about scapegoat. Let me tell you something. If you've got a scapegoat, you can use the Lawnmower 3.0 to shear it. Make it the smoothest scapegoat that you've ever had. How about that? We'll talk a little bit about the back four, all that and more, and probably a little less about Manscaped with our next guest. You can find her on Twitter at It's Jessinho. It's Jessica Black. Hello, Jess.
Hey, did I miss the meltdown or?
No, the meltdown's happening. The close-up camera thing works for the right side of the screen, not for the left side. So we're going to go to the wide angle. There we go. That's the one I'm a little more comfortable with. Thanks very much. How are you holding up?
I'm good. I usually don't get super nervous until like literally when the whistle blows. Like right now, I'm pretty relaxed, So we'll see. We'll see.
I want to brag on you. You made your BBC debut this evening. I did not get a chance to view it due to this nonsense, but I will definitely try to catch the link to it. You were on BBC Sport. How'd that go?
Yeah, it was cool. It was like a very short 10-minute segment, and I just talked about Arteta and if I could see progress and how bad it would be if we didn't get through. So that was fun. But yeah, it was really short. It was sweet, and yeah, it was a good opportunity. I had fun. I loved it.
Great. Well, I am happy for you, and it is well deserved.
Thanks.
And if they want to call me, they can. I won't sit by the phone and wait for it to ring, but just letting you know that that you can. Jess is BBC presenter now. Elliot, you need to pay her. That can be arranged, but then she has to get on board with the Manscaped promotions, and so we haven't discussed that. That can all be discussed another time. Jess, let's talk about what we expect from the game, and we can do a little bit of lineup reaction with you as well. He has gone with what looks like the Sheffield United approach. It's a lot of trust in a system that worked against the league's bottom side, having tried it once against a team that will play a very different approach. I like that we have the runners up front. It was my theory that actually Saka will be in the front line with Pepe and Lacazette, and Smith Rowe will drop into that midfield three. Do you have an expectation of there being any tweaks to what he did at the weekend? How do you feel about him choosing a system that he hasn't had a lot of time to look at?
Well, it surprised me, to be honest. I didn't think Arteta would have would take this type of risk in a game like this. I personally think that if it was any other game, I would literally go with the exact same front four that played against Sheffield because I thought it worked. I thought those tactics worked. I thought it was good, but I hope it works for Arteta's sake. I really, really do, because Slavia Prague and Sheffield, they're not the same for a multitude of different reasons. It could just be the fact that Slavia Prague is really confident. They haven't lost at home in like 60 something games or something like that. Sheffield knows they're going down, so the mentality is different. I don't anticipate, I actually think Slavia Prague might sit deep and just try to get the 0-0, keep it tight, so we're not going to have runners in behind. That being said, I really think it's just a simple switch of ESR for Martinelli. I think it's just that simple. He put ESR on the left, instead of Martinelli, and it's going to be exactly the same as it was. Some people are saying that Pepe is on the right, Pepe is on the left. I don't really know. I think they'll be switching positions. I don't think it'll matter. But Xhaka at left back, I really hope that works for Arteta's sake. I really, really do.
It's tough, right? Because Xhaka's been really, really good. And when Xhaka's been really, really good, I keep waiting for something to go wrong, but hopefully it's not tonight. Let me just ask you, Jess, is there, I can't decide how important this is. I know it's very important, obviously, but is this existentially important? Could you see the club legitimately changing direction based on the outcome tonight?
No, I don't think so. Mm-hmm. I think Arteta is as safe in his job as you could possibly imagine. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think it's more about the fan base. And there's a big divide in the fan base, Arteta in, Arteta out, and there's a lot of people that feel like he has to win this in order to gain their trust, or feel like this season wasn't an absolute failure. I know Arteta said that he doesn't even think about a scenario where we're not in Europe, but it has to be playing in the back of his mind a little bit that might be a scenario that we may be in later on today. We don't really know, but I don't think he's really in a position to lose his job or anything like that. I just think the meltdown from the fan base would be horrendous at this point.
Yeah, that's for sure. I think the other thing is too, right? You then wind up with a situation. By the way, Clive joining us momentarily, so Clive will be here in a second. So if you're looking for Clive, stand by. Obviously, better off right now because you get more Jessica, but Clive is coming. The interesting thing I think would just be when this European run ends, and hopefully it won't end tonight. If you're looking at 8 more league games with really nothing on the line, right? Really genuinely nothing on the line. I think that's where it would start to get anxious. And who knows, maybe you go and you win your next 8 Premier League games, you feel top of the world, you make it into Europe through a league position. I mean, do you think the league still has any meat left on the bone for us in terms of what we can do there? I mean, I would certainly say we get through tonight. Arteta has a clear path to just tell the league to go get lost and focus on Europe. But is there a scenario you think where the league is still a path to European football for us, or is that just too far gone?
Mathematically, yes, it's still possible for sure. And it's been possible for the entire season. The issue is that we've never been able to put together a 4 or 5 game streak of just pure wins to help us move up the table. People drop points, they will continue to drop points, but we're never able to really take advantage of that. And that's the issue. So for me, I think the league is done from just a standpoint of I don't believe the team could string together even after a European, crashing out of Europe. I just don't think mentally this team is going to be ready to, throw everything to the league, So no, I don't think it's possible. I think this is where we need to focus, and hopefully we can get into the semifinals. I think from there, it's really, really clear, how we get that trophy and make it into Europe.
Yeah, I think, like, there's a part of me that wants to say, okay, there's still something there for us. And by the way, thank you to New Dawn Games. Thank you. Found Jess through Arsenal Vision. So happy to introduce you to her. And obviously she now can go on to blossom to bigger and better things while we live forever in her shadow, much like Tottenham and Arsenal. So look, what's her Twitter? Good question. It is at It's Jessinho. Jessinho, right? Like the Brazilian It's Jessinho. Is there a Brazilian connection there? Or you just kind of like the football tie-in of It's Jessinho?
Ronaldinho is my favorite player, so that's pretty much the only connection that's there.
Ronaldinho, Xhaka, like 1-2.
It's really close, actually. I really think those two are just right in the same category. But yeah, Ronaldinho just nicks it. Fair enough.
Okay, so in terms of what we expect from the game, the first leg offered us a lot of big chances, but not a lot of chances generally. There were a lot of periods of sort of nothing football broken up by moments of huge chances to put the tie to bed. I would love to see us create more tonight, but if we just created the kind of chances we did in that game, I think we'd be okay. Do you think that this will be a game that feels like that first leg, kind of tight, kind of cagey, with a few big chances on either side? Or do you expect us to be more in control tonight?
I think we'll have complete control of the ball. I have this feeling that Slavia Prague is going to sit in deep and sit in tight and just try to play for the 0-0. I don't think they'll be confident enough to sit on the halfway line and allow us space in behind. I don't see it. So that being said, I think we'll find it difficult to create clear-cut chances. I think it's going to be more similar to when we played against, I think it was Benfica, and that's the second leg. And they were kind of deep, and it took us a long time to kind of break them down. I think it's going to be similar to that, and they'll play on the counter. So I don't anticipate a whole lot of chances in terms of clear cut, but I do think we'll get a couple. And if we get them, they have to be put away. If they're not, I see the anxiety kind of creeping in, and this team doesn't really do well, when the pressure is on. Put them away early,
Yeah. I would love to put them away early, because then I won't have to change underwear more than 2 or 3 times tonight, which is my preference. Hey, look, OMG, it's Clive. Clive PAFC. Oh my God, it's
Clive. Why does he do that? Why does he?
You're a star, Clive. You're a star.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's Clive.
He knows I'm sharp. Right? So why does he do it? I don't
Here come the comments. OMG, it's Clive. Hey, it's Clive. It's Clive.
Put them up.
OMG, it's Clive. I'm doing it on Twitter. I'm doing it here. Clive in the hood. Clive in hood. I like that.
Clivinho.
Clive. Oh, Clivinho. There it is. Clive. Okay, look, all this love aside, Clive, let's get you to back up a second and give us a little bit of your lineup reaction. He's only gone and repeated what he did against Sheffield United. Do you expect it to be exactly the same, or any differences? What are you expecting to see?
Yeah, it's going to be the same.
Exact same, you think?
I thought he might. I had a little inkling for Gabriel left back, actually.
Matty!
I just thought he might do that, only because they're pretty sharp down their right hand side. And I thought he might just do a little bit of a bit of insurance with speed. Someone who can actually run and defend. But maybe that's just my fear talking. So I thought, you know what, I don't see any issues with Gabriel left back. And we're going to build up in a 3, and we're going to build up in a 1, or we might build up in a 2, depending on the situation. And Chambers does that role well. And Elliot, the Chambers thing is really interesting. It's sort of, hey, look, I'm not always right, but I've been saying for a while the type of right back we need is somebody that can play in midfield. It's as simple as that. And it was always a style thing with Bellerin. He was never where you need him to be, right? And I can only take one North London derby defeat for me to work that one out, right? So yeah, it's just a style thing. And Chambers, by being less athletic, he's more suited to that role, a little bit more rounded. So yeah, it's the same as the only difference is Smith Rowe for Martinelli. Let's see what happens on the left hand side and how Smith Rowe plays it. For me, Smith Rowe, top player. It's all about his body. Yeah, you heard me say before, he just needs to get a gym membership. That's all he needs.
I'm glad you brought that up, Clive. I'm glad you brought that up because I have heard that it is all about your body. And Clive, I have something for you because we do our podcast via the medium of audio, as you know. And for that reason, I am not always able to show you the genius of really what is one of the finest products on the planet. And today, Clive, we can share in the joy. That is the Lawnmower 3.0. That is the Lawnmower 3.0, Clive. And in fact, I even got this for you. I don't know can you see on your screen in the upper corner, got Bush, and there it goes, buzz, buzz, buzz. Look at that, Clive. Come on, man.
That's cool. That's cool. Well, it looks very nice. It looks better than what you sound like talking about. That's for
there
sure.
goes my job. There goes my job. Clive out here taking body count from Clive. You know what? That's fine. That's fine. We can live with that. But you do have to go to manscaped.com. Promo code ArsenalVision. You get 20% off and free shipping. And you can shave your privates. And then when we all go to this live event, I'm going to tell you about in the coming weeks, we can all show each other our beautifully smooth shaved privates. Clive, actually, I would ask you, are you in need of a new, what do you do for the dome? Do you need something new?
I just use a Gillette, mate. Straight over the top.
Straight.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah,
well, all right. God bless you, man.
Just done it.
I am not there yet, but I am going to venture to guess. That I would not look as good with a shaved head as you would. I'm going to venture to guess that once this starts to go, I'm just no more video content at that point, and that is probably.
I have no choice in this scenario, by the way.
I understand. Let's bring Jess back in here.
Yeah,
Enough of this nonsense.
She's laughing at me dying.
There was a lot of requests, Clive, for you to be here for the actual shaving promotion.
I stayed. I had a little look on, but I stayed off because you give me stick if I say anything, so I just went off again.
Fair enough. Okay. Hey, look, Clive, one thing that we were talking about before you came on, and I proposed, and I want to get your take on this. So you think it'll be exactly the same as the weekend? I think there could be a slight tweak here, and I'm curious to get your take on it. And then Jess will bring you back here in a second. But the Saka got in behind a lot in the first leg. He was really the chief threat of getting in behind. And I don't know that Arteta will want to remove that threat. Pepe obviously is there to get in behind as well. I could see Smith Rowe being the right 8 and Ceballos the left 8 to create those partnerships with Pepe and Saka. I mean, Smith Rowe and Saka have had that kind of success together before. We know that when Smith Rowe plays, he likes to drift to that side. Don't you think maybe he'll put the two speedsters on the outside to run in behind and drop Smith Rowe back into more of a midfield kind of number 8 role instead of having Saka play like he did the weekend and Smith Rowe on the wing where he's less of a threat? Or do you think, nope, it's just going to be straightforward just like we've seen before?
He could do anything.
Well, that's fair.
I think the way my brain works is all about the relationships that you build. So there's some relationships that are being built at the weekend. So we saw Saka and Pepe together. Nice. Pepe, Saka and Lacazette. Nice. Do you see what I mean? And we saw Ceballos and Martinelli on that left-hand side with Xhaka feeding them. Looked all right. So all these times we placed one player who can go long into someone who can come short as well. Hey, personally, I may have started Martinelli, but I understand he needs some impact from the bench. It's not always the team you start with, it's the team you finish with. And so he's gone that way around. I still worry about Martinelli, and every time he plays, he seems to tweak that ankle. I've just got something in my mind what Raj said about players that are coming back from injury. When they tweak their ankles like that, it's a sign they've still not got their mechanics right. So I think Arsenal are just desperate for the end of the season so that he can come back next year and then be the player we all think he's going to be. So they'll be really cautious there. You know, I don't blame them. We cannot lose him for another year. We just can't. So
no, I agree with that, and I weirdly like, because I'm Whiskers. They call me Whiskers because I'm a worrier. But I'm not worried about Martinelli. I think he has a big future for us. I think it's at center forward primarily, and I think we'll see more of that next season. But Jess, I do think that the pace of the back line potentially could be an issue tonight. That is something that I think there's concern about. What you don't want is to have to keep those pacey players back to support those sort of slower fullbacks. But at the same time, I don't see this being a game where Chambers and Xhaka have to push up. And I wonder if that's sort of the reason he's gone for Chambers and Xhaka in a sense, just because if they're going to play a high line, they're going to press. We're going to be more direct and we're going to be playing longer to get behind. So you don't need your fullbacks supporting with this lineup as much. I mean, Jess, do you think that we'll see less forward runs from the fullbacks tonight, and they'll be more direct and longer?
I actually think that Arteta just anticipates us having the ball. I don't necessarily feel like Chambers and obviously Xhaka are not going to be overlapping and running into space, and they'll pretty much just dictate play from wherever they are as midfielders. But I just think Arteta thinks we're going to have the ball. And for me, I think Chambers is the right fit, and you need to have Xhaka on the field, period. If he's not in the midfield, he needs to be somewhere out there. Cedric doesn't really offer the same type of balance that Xhaka would on the left-hand side. So I think it's perfectly fine. I still can't see them sitting off on the halfway line and trying to press us. I really think they're going to sit in. That's just my anticipation, because they just need a 0-0, don't they? Just really need to risk it, knowing that we have Emile Smith-Rowe, Saka, Pepe, these types of players that can play in behind. So that's my anticipation. I could be completely wrong. They can sit at the halfway line and press us. But at the same time, I think either way, even if they're sitting in or they're sitting on the halfway line, these are the two best options, even based on just relationship-wise, like Clive said. Sometimes it's just about the relationships. It's about getting the right people in there together. And would you really want Bellerin? I mean, I'm thinking about him and I'm thinking, who does he play well with? If Saka, who I think is going to be playing in the 10 role, he doesn't really connect that well with anybody except for Saka. So we'll just see how it goes. I think it's fine. I'm hoping it's fine.
Yeah. I think we're all hoping it's fine. I'll tell you what, Richard, if you can get a balaclava sponsor, I'm happy to wear a balaclava on the next show. You have thoughts, Clive? That surprises me, but I'm willing to hear them.
Yeah, well, so let's look at the team now, right? So it's quite a physical team, isn't it? They're quite big. They've got a big back line. I quite like that because they're quite big. They're quite physical. Some of their physicality and running stats in the Champions League 1-2 years ago were right up there at the top, and they outran Leicester. So that's been in my mind. So we need a team that can cope with collisions. I felt they got under us a little bit in the first game. We didn't really play with any sort of personality. So it's amazing where I always say to you, Elliot, your brain always goes to the 8s and 10s. And you always look for those shapes up there.
And the Manscaped, but yes.
You never talk to it. So in the end, we want to build up, don't we? So we know we're going to build up with a 3 at the back. We know that. We know Xhaka's going to have room at left side, really, to do his thing. And if they press him, we know Partey's going to have room. So I think we need to have a little bit more certainty about when we roll off the front line. So for all Martinelli's abilities, we've all got that picture of him running in behind, etc., and coming off the back post and scoring. You still need to put your stamp down to say, we are building up and this is how we're going to do it. And it's Smith-Rowe, Lacazette, and Saka. We've got people who can come to the ball when they need to. We just got to get that synergy with on the piston, who goes in, comes short, who goes in behind. Smith-Rowe can do both. Saka can do both. Pepe can do both. And Lacazette's the one that's got to be smart and choose what to do when, right? And not waste his legs, but be the leader there, be the glue there. Make sure we can be part of that build-up. Make sure he's pointing and clicking some of those younger boys to be in the right position. So I don't think we had much build-up in the first game. As soon as we did, we killed them. We killed them. So he's focusing on build-up and presence. Now, if I'm him, I'm talking to Daniel Ceballos actually. And just if I can get him to just open his body out and see what's on the right-hand side, see what's on that side. I thought he was a little bit blinkered how he played at the weekend. Quite nice. And we want him in a box because once he comes out of that box, we don't know where he's going to end up, right? So keep him in that side, creating the triangles on the left-hand side, got triangles on the right-hand side. To do your job, but when you do get a chance and you're coming laterally, can you be a little bit more forward thinking? Can you get in? Can Pepe get in on that right-hand side? So I think that's what I'm looking at. I think Ceballos is fortunate to start. He doesn't quite trust Smith Rowe enough in that role because I think he can do it just as well. But maybe not had enough experience close to his own goal. But Ceballos is not showing a lot of experience close to his own goal neither. So I would have played Gabriel and used Xhaka there, and I would have just moved everything forward and said to Xhaka and Partey, you hold show here, and we go from here. But it doesn't bother me because the most important thing is the balance of the front four and what we tell them to do. And the most important thing is that Willian's not playing because as soon as he plays, all our faces get longer, right? So that's the truth of it.
It's interesting. This is from the UEFA website. I just thought I'd pop this up. Look, you should have seen how the BBC listed our lineup for Sunday. I mean, they couldn't have been more wrong. UEFA has us in the bog standard 3-5-2 formation. So I figure I will ask this. I mean, they have Smith Rowe and Saka as wingbacks, Xhaka, Partey, and Ceballos as a 3 with Lacazette and Pepe playing up front. I mean, I guess anything is possible, but Jess, this isn't it, right? It's going to be Sunday's thing, isn't it?
What is this? Like, this is so not it. They're just guessing, I think it's basically what we did against Sheffield with, Xhaka was kind of like in that little bit of space. Ceballos was in that little bit of space. Martinelli was pushed way up. Saka was dropped in. I really think Saka's still going to be that 10. I just think it's going to be that. And I think it's going to be closer to a 4-2-3-1 with some movement. That's just what I think it is. I don't know what this is. This is not it. I'm looking at this like, what?
I mean, for the record, I don't think that's it either, Clive. I mean, that's not it, right?
No. It is. The instant reactor is going to be pretty gloomy.
We'll take it off the screen.
And I may have to send you a message to say I may not make it.
Let's do this though. I mean, just real quick. I mean, I think we should touch on the significance of this match. Look, I got yelled at because sometimes that has to happen. And I was told to get an effing grip by Paul. That was the exact quote, and I understand it.
It's a good job you don't hold on to these things, really.
No, I don't. I don't even remember who said it. When was it? It definitely wasn't Tuesday, March.
We haven't seen 4,000 WhatsApp messages since that. No, we haven't. No, we haven't.
Well, look, here's my point. We don't want to be in a situation where we're taking stock after every game, win or lose. So let's take stock before the game, win or lose. The significance of this match, obviously, it can't be overstated in this one respect. Set the Arteta thing aside. What it means for this club if we somehow find a way to lift a European trophy, having not done that, but also get into the Champions League, and how that shortcuts the project, brings everybody on board instantly, gives Arteta the breathing room to really start to shape a squad that he wants it to be, versus if we don't get that and don't qualify for Europe at all, and now the club has to decide with limited resources how much to back a guy who kind of fell short of the milestones they may have set.
Yeah.
I mean, doesn't this feel like a real turning point for the club, this tournament, this European trophy, in terms of how many years of a project this is and how much leeway Arteta will have in the summer to really mold it into the squad he wants it to be?
Yeah, we're all fans, aren't we? We can't escape how we're feeling right now. It feels big, doesn't it? It felt big. I've been working all day, but I've been absent mentally, right? So, and it's like, and I've been to 3 European Cup finals live, seen us lose 2 and win 1 in Copenhagen. And that day in Copenhagen is my single most happiest day as an Arsenal fan, watching the game live. If we were to win this game and go to the final and win, I think that's right up there with anything I've seen, because I think the club needs it more. When we beat Parma, it was nice. 1-0 to Arsenal, it was nice. Champions League final, you know what? I thought we might back there the year after. And so it shows you what happened. Right? Yeah. But this, we know more about the club now. Well, I do anyway. And I think we're more informed as fans, even from 5-10 years ago. And we know what this means. We know what it means numbers-wise. We know what it means players-wise. We know what it means from a sporting stature perspective. To me, it's huge. I don't think it, I heard sort of Jeff say before I came on, and I agree with that. I don't think it affects the manager, but it affects the turbulence by which he has to live. And it's definitely going to affect us podcasters because we're going to be traumatized if we go out and for the next few weeks going forward. And I, you know, I like serenity. You know me, Elliot. I like to be able to look at things. I like to see them grow. I like to see them develop. And the way that can happen is in a nice, peaceful environment, not in an environment where people are absolutely reacting, and we don't react in a software, react in a binary way. And I don't want that for anybody, because we want them to see what we need to do. And we've made so many, you know, stupid mistakes in the past based on how we felt as a club, you know, our anxiety to be something. We need to just forget that, cut that out, and build this club properly. Absolutely do it properly. And the bad result will stop us from doing that. And I'm really worried for that, if I'm honest.
Yeah, and by the way, we got a question. You know, how does winning the Europa League and getting in the Champions League shortcut the project? And I think the short answer is really two things. It gives us money, and money lets us build a better squad. But it also, I think, means that when Arteta says to the club, here's what I want to do this summer, he has a lot more credibility and a lot stronger position to say those things and get the things he wants. I mean, if you're Arsenal and we finish 8th and we're out of the Europa League, let's say at the quarterfinal stage, and Arteta says, here's my plan for the future, you have to decide as a club, are we getting behind this? What's our but if you're in the Champions League and you've lifted a European trophy, the position to be able to do that, I think, is so much stronger. Jess, I don't want to bring it all back to this because we're getting close to kickoff. We'll tie this up pretty soon. But like, I do want to just touch on the Aubameyang thing again. This is our biggest night of the season. This is a monumental night for the club to get into the semifinals, to progress. I mean, look, there's still a lot of work to do in this tournament, even if we get through. But for Aubameyang to not be in the squad tonight and to buy the argument that, oh, he just happens to be sick this week with the flu, it is a big moment for the club, and our highest paid player and biggest star yet again not going to feature. That is something as a fan base we have been through too much recently and has to stop. I hope it is just the flu and he plays the rest of the season and we get through tonight and he scores the winner against United in the final. Great. That ends all that debate. But is Aubameyang like the last final clear warning to this club that you just have to be more ruthless about the contracts you hand out and the commitments you make to these players at the tail end of their career? You know, whether it's Willian, whether it's Aubameyang, we have kind of become a cozy place for players to finish their career, and that has to stop. I mean, you look at Chelsea, and I don't love that Chelsea team, but all that talent, 22, 23, 22, 24, 23, 22, and they're just swimming in it. I cannot look past the fact that this summer, the club has to start to lean more into that future that we're seeing with players like Saka and Smith Rowe and maybe Odegaard and potentially even Pepe and players like that, and get away from making these same kind of Willian and Aubameyang size mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're just in that weird place where it's we don't have, like you said, we don't have a lot of players in that good age range. We just don't. It's very much so 19 and 20-year-olds, and then people on the wrong side of 30. And I understand that we can't put a lot of pressure on these young players, but to be quite honest, it's kind of like, what's your other option? You know, with Aubameyang, I really do understand where the club was coming from with feeling like they were in a position where they had to re-sign him. I think it was something to placate the fans, and they took the easy way out. I think taking the easy way out and taking shortcuts has been a growing theme with this club, trying to cut corners to get where they want to go, and it's never really worked. We're definitely in a tear it down and start over, just start it, scrap it, and start it over type of thing. I don't think you can salvage very much of this. We saw the initial coal in January. I think we have to continue that. In regards to, you know, I do agree that they need to learn their lesson. I find it very, very difficult to accept that we just went through what we went through with Ozil and we turned around and did the exact thing with Aubameyang. I get it. Everybody's going to say, of course, everybody wanted Aubameyang to resign. No, the loudest people wanted Aubameyang to resign. There was a quiet, you know, minority of people that knew that there was a chance that this could happen. There's a lot of, kind of rumors going around that him and Arteta don't get along. I think the beginnings of that was at the very beginning of the season when his form kind of dropped. I have my own hypothesis about why that's happening. Not going to say it now, but we have to learn our lesson. And we're really in a position where it's keep cutting corners and not reaching your goals, or tear it down and start from the beginning and try to build the club, like Clive said, in the right way. You have to either use the kids or use the older people. And for me, it's kind of like, what has cutting corners done for us at this point? That's where we are.
Yeah. No, that's fair. Well, look, let's lighten the mood just real quick. Well, Clive, do you want to have a final word on the Aubameyang thing? I mean, look, It is what it is. He may just be sick. That's obviously a very likely and plausible answer, and it's just bad timing. I think it is, he had the absence with the thing with his mother, and the club, really supported him with that, and maybe he was going through a hard time, and then he misses the derby because of disciplinary reasons, and that's made public, and then he's out of the team again, and so you start to put 2 and 2 together, maybe get 22 instead of 4. Yeah. But this is a club that needs to not have its highest paid players, its star players being distractions, being the story, being out of the team. We need our biggest resources contributing to our biggest performances, and it's just a shame that that's not the case right now.
Yeah, it is. And hey, look, I said this on the podcast, didn't I? People have problems sometimes off the pitch, and he may just be going for a bad time off the pitch. And he's an adult, and people have adult problems, and I don't want to say too much really, but I just want to say that basically I'm okay if we lose this game. Everyone's going to be talking about Aubameyang. That's the sad thing. We are Mesut Ozil scarred, right? And I had a view on Ozil for quite a while, that he was a semi-retired player that was basically giving one story to the fans and pretending he really wanted to play when actually he couldn't play. He wasn't at the right level. He wasn't the right fitness. He wasn't ready to play. He was nowhere near the intensity to play for Arsenal. And I sort of knew this, but he couldn't say anything because of the visceral attacks he would get, right? So with Aubameyang, I don't see the same issues physically. I honestly don't. We've got short memories. We really have. And he's not there yet. He's somebody that's more emotionally impacted. And when he's not emotionally right, we don't see the same person. It's a shame because we've invested for just this moment tonight. Yeah. The differentiator between a Slavia Prague team that hasn't got the refund to give Aubameyang that sort of 250 a week touch. So you want him there, don't you? Well, you've got some bloke with a beard on 180 grand a week. So get him to do the job. Right. And that's what you got to do. The ones who are there, they've got to step up and do the job. And so, if anything, no, I've got no issues with it. Let's just hope he comes back. Let's just hope he comes back. I want to be positive there. I really like the guy. When the Instagram came out, when he was signing, my emotional reaction was, yes, I'm so pleased for that. I want to stay here for another year next season and go off to Qatar, go off and make more money. Right? Go wherever he needs to go. But I want to support him in this. And by the way, he's our player. We can move him if we want to. He's contracted. Unlike some of the people who have pretended they wanted to sign and walked out for free, and they're still fated by the fans of the club, and they just took their money and went off for nothing. And they're the ones we should be focusing on. He signed, right? And he's here, and he's our asset to do what we like with.
Yeah, look, I think the one thing we can say, right, is just that, like, it is the case that when you look at the last many, many years at Arsenal, whether it was Theo Walcott leveraging a tricky situation to get a bigger contract, or Mesut Ozil doing it to get a bigger contract, or Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang doing it, the club has been in a position as it's been sort of declining, where it's made some very big contractual decisions in moments of relative weakness and fear and anxiety. And I'd love to see us be able to move away from having to make our decisions.
I totally agree. And the ones that bother me really are the ones that really are indicative or indications of where we are as a team. And the fact that we feel we have to get a Willian to come into the club, the fact that we feel we need that player, that tells us our squad building from previous years has not been correct. That's the sort of one you need to focus on, right? The fact that we didn't move on potentially our top goal scorer. So who's to say that was wrong? In Lacazette when we should have done. The fact we got ourselves into a situation where we had to lose Giroud when we did, and then we ended up losing the balance of our front line. Things like that are stupid. They're stupid. Aubameyang's not stupid. He's paid us back. It's just a shame that he's not around when we really need
Yeah.
him.
All right. Well, look, it is what it is. I just think, big game tonight. The players on the pitch are the ones who have to perform and potentially the ones on the bench. And so we'll focus on the guys that are there. Look, let's have a little fun before we say goodbye. Clive, you weren't here for it. Jess, you weren't here for it. I think one of the things that we absolutely have to touch on, I think it might be one of the most important things happening in the world of football today, period, full stop. Dulux trolls Spurs. Clive, are you up to date on this story?
I did see that they are their new paint partner or something. Is that right?
They are indeed. I don't know those of you watching if you caught this. Jess, did you catch this story?
Yeah, I saw little, paint cans going down my my feed earlier today. So
Yeah, I mean, basically, they announced this paint sponsor, and the paint sponsor gets asked, to paint the trophy cabinet, and they're like, "Oh, it's a dusty old thing. It needs to be fixed before it can be painted," so, something like that along those lines. And then they had a paint can that said the color of Spurs tears or whatever. Like, Clive, I mean, I know that we are gargantuan and they are tiny. That much is clear, and we know that. And they're only going down further with their terrible manager that they are now tied to on huge money. Talk about a bad contract. But how do they find ways to continue to one-up themselves and make us able to laugh regardless of what's happening in our club? I mean, being trolled on social media by your own sponsor, is that a new low? Would you say that is a new low, that they're plumbing new depths?
You asking me this stuff?
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I look at Spurs and I just look at them and think, okay, they're heading to a moment. They're really heading to a moment, but they're also 5 wins away from being in Champions League, right? And it could go like that. So they're not completely done yet. And we'll be the ones £100 million behind them in revenue, which we never could have said 10, 12 years ago.
You're not leaning into this segment, Clive, which is laughing at Spurs, not panicking Arsenal.
I tend to want to, we need to, I'm telling you now, we need to focus on ourselves. That's what we need to do. I can't help but be serious, just so you get used to me, right? We need to focus on ourselves. We really do. Because the moment we do and do that properly, they will not be anywhere near us. Right? I honestly believe that. I don't think people understand the size of our club. I don't think they truly do. I don't think they truly do. And as actually being on this podcast has even made me realize how massive the global fan base is, right? And how many people absolutely love this club who have never actually seen them play a game, right? So, and I think it's something that's growing and growing and growing and growing. And we don't worry about Spurs. They're not growing like us. We need to do our job. We need to do our job and make sure we've got the best 11 players on that pitch, because then they just won't matter. They won't matter. Yeah.
Well said. Okay, well, I wanted that to be a little funnier than it was, but Clive, you, as usual, you made good points, man, and that's what really matters. So I would sign up for this Arsenal Vision Post-Match Podcast, the official Arsenal podcast sponsor of Tottenham Hotspur. I would definitely take
That's
that.
Funny.
Yeah, I would definitely take that. By the way, I do want to take this moment just to say, look, it is a pleasure to share this time before kickoff together, to go through the anxiety together. We had Tim and Paul and Scott on earlier. We have Jessica, who we can't thank enough for being part of this, and Clive being on as well. I am told, look, have you guys ever watched on YouTube? They say, smash that like button, smash that subscribe button. And I want to create a movement. My movement is, don't smash this stuff. These things aren't cheap. Just gently tap it. They're so sensitive. They don't need to be smashed. If you're using a device that needs to be smashed, you need a new device. I think it's that simple. So gently tap the area where it will let you like or subscribe to the video, or don't. Don't just be here with us. Just be in the moment. Let's all live in the moment and maybe shave our privates. That's all this show is always about. Living in the moment together and shaving our privates. That's really all we're about. And we want to thank Manscaped for the latter. So it is prediction time. Thank you for gently tapping the like and subscribe button, everybody. Really appreciate it. Okay, Jess, prediction time. What do you got? Everybody get their predictions up in the comments. We'll put them all up.
My predictions are always the same. 2-1 Arsenal. Always.
2-1 Arsenal gets us through. That's all that matters. We've got a 3-1 here. Clive, what do you got?
I think it's going to be really traumatic. I've got a funny feeling it's going to be really traumatic. It's going to be 2-2. And we go for an away goals.
We got a 10-0. That is the right answer. We've got a 2-2. We've got a 3-1. We've got a 2-1. We've got a 2-1. We've got a 3-2. All of these are good. We don't have any scores yet that would see us crashing out. Clive, let me ask you this just in terms of how we approach this. If we had won 1-0 at home, obviously that's a better result. Obviously. I'm not trying to like galaxy brain this. Can you make an argument that that the 1-1 makes it easier psychologically in a sense because we have to score? Them scoring actually changes nothing. It changes nothing. So there's no downside to going to try to score. We get 2, we're through. Because at that point, they need 3 to get through. So I don't know. Don't you think that, again, I'd rather have the 1-0 at home. I'm not trying to galaxy brain it. But the 1-1 makes the job maybe even more straightforward for us in terms of how to go approach this tie. Isn't that possibly the case?
Yeah, and I didn't feel that in the 10 minutes after the last game, I'll be honest with you. But it makes it clear. Clarity is nice, right? So it's an easy team talk, right? We have to score. We have to do something. So we have to have that mentality rather than, you don't want Arteta to have a situation where he can sit on something. You got to have a situation where he not needs to go for something, but we need to have an impact score 1-2 goals minimum, right? So, and this makes it absolutely clear what we need to do. And as a fans, we know what we're watching. We're not watching 2 different games. We know what we're watching here. And I fancy us. Away from home, we've been better in Europe. I'm sure Tim knows all the numbers. But we haven't done well at home in any of the games. So I really fancy us to go there. We seem to be unburdened. So I fancy us to go there. And as the game gets near, I'm getting more and more confident.
And then the minute it kicks off, it all vaporizes.
And then
the drinks start flowing.
Where's my iPad? I need to say something. I do. The most important thing is in the home leg, I didn't think we played with any sort of presence and authority. And if we play with the authority we showed at the weekend and the belief in who we are and our combinations, that's the first thing I want. And the rest takes care of itself. And then we'll know who's going to stay in this room in the summer and who's going to leave it. Right? So I just want to make sure we play with authority.
Jess, final thoughts?
Just start fast. Like, please don't do the 30 minutes to start actually playing. Just start quick. Try to put the game away early. I'm a little confident, but anything can happen. But we should have enough regardless of who's out there on the field. We're a better team and mentality is everything. It doesn't matter if you have a bombing or not, or Martinelli out there. If you don't come out with the right mentality, it really doesn't matter. So I'm just looking for that quick start, some confidence, and maybe a goal early. Come on, you Gunners. Let's hope for the best.
Indeed. All right. Well, hey, Jess, thank you so much for being here. Hopefully we'll have another one to do before another European tie, but we can probably do one next week because we actually play Everton on a Friday next week. So chance to do that and hope to see you there. Jess is on Twitter at It's Jessinho, like Robinho, but more like Ronaldinho. Exactly. And you'd find her there and on her wonderful podcast, She Knows Arsenal. Thank you, Jessica.
All right. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.
Cheers. All right, and that'll do it for Clive. But Clive, you're going to join us for the instant reaction post-match, which will hopefully be a cheery occasion, right?
I think so. Do you need me? Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do need you. We always need you, buddy. We'll have that for patrons and then the full podcast tomorrow. Clive, enjoy the match. I look forward to a slightly inebriated but very happy Clive in about 2 hours.
Got 6 Peronis waiting for me. See you in a bit, mate.
Get through them, mate. Cheers. You can find Clive on Twitter, ClivePAFC. That's Clive. Hey, thanks, everybody. We love you so much for being here. It means the world to me that you would join. It means the world to all of us to have you along for the free stuff, for the paid stuff, for whatever you're a part of. It's just great to have you here. So more than anything, I hope you enjoy the match. I hope it's a big night for Arsenal, on to the semifinal and on to bigger and better things. And we will be able to discuss those bigger and better things and continue the journey together. But wherever you are, I hope you're healthy. I hope you're happy. I hope you enjoy the game. We love you. We will talk to you after Arsenal 10, Slavia Prague 0.